Today we are going to start your puppy on raw food, and in this video I am going to explain every single consideration you need to make before making the leap and feeding raw food to your puppy. Now, starting something new can be very daunting, but it doesn't necessarily have to be if you have the right knowledge. So with this information, what I want you to do is get all the tools you need to kickstart your puppy onto the best food ever. So the first question has to do with when. When should you start your puppy onto raw food? Well, as early as week 3 or week 4, when your puppy would naturally wean off the mother's milk, week 3 or week 4 can be advisable for a puppy to start on raw food. And there are a couple considerations that I want you to make whenever you introduce raw to your dog for the first time. Now, if you think about it, puppies, like babies, are still developing. Everything is growing and everything is forming. So if you try to feed your puppy something that's very rich in certain aspects, it might be the case that your puppy might have a natural reaction, an adverse reaction to the food. So in order for you not to go through that, I am going to give you a few pointers. Pointer number 1 has to do with the digestibility of the protein. Now let's think about proteins from how digestible they are to us and to then extrapolate them to our puppies. If you think about it, chicken or turkey are easier to digest than lamb or beef for us. So if you are going to start your puppy onto a particular meat, I would try to introduce a lean meat because those will be easier to digest for them. Consideration number 2 has to do with bone, and let me be very clear. Bone is an essential part of your dog's diet and is a must, but when they are puppies, they might struggle breaking down all the bone that you might be feeding them. So if your puppy is struggling, or you think it might be a better idea to introduce bone at a later date, it would be beneficial for you to wait a few weeks to introduce bone. If you are worried about calcium deficiency, you can feed an eggshell, for example. That would be a wonderful substitute for bone. Consideration number 3 has to do with offal and liver, and these are absolutely wonderful nutrients. They are packed with minerals and vitamins and are a must for every single dog. However, it is likely that your puppy might struggle with offal or might struggle with liver. So maybe again, try to wait a few weeks to introduce liver and offal, though as beneficial as they are. Now, with those considerations out the way, we have to make another decision. Now, there are 2 camps whenever it comes to raw food. We have the pure 80-10-10, and then we have the raw and veggies. And in my opinion, one is not better than the other, and they can be merged together or altered together. But in short, people who feed a straight 80-10-10 do not feed any vegetables whatsoever, and they believe that dogs are 100% carnivores and can do without veggies. And people who feed vegetables, on the other hand, believe in the power of vegetables, and they believe in how good they are for your puppy's life. I only have 2 recommendations for you. The first one is that you keep it simple. You keep it as simple as possible. If you have a pre-made tub of 80-10-10 or raw food and vegetables, and the only thing you have to do is thaw it and give it to your dog, in my opinion, that is the easiest way to start your dog onto raw. For you to be homemaking your dog's food and to be sourcing bone, be sourcing liver, be sourcing heart and tongue and spleen and different tripe and meats, it's a bit difficult in my opinion unless you have the budget and the time. So if you can get everything in one place, and you can absolutely get everything in one place, I would recommend you buy something that's already pre-made and that's already ready to go, ready to thaw and ready to give to your dog, because that's, in my opinion, the easiest way, the hassle-free way to feed raw. And the second piece of advice is for you to check the quality of the food you are getting. Make sure the manufacturer you choose is regulated and adheres to every single tick in the box, because we see with the straight 80-10-10s and with the vegetables and raw food, the quality can vary quite greatly, and it's something that's quite sad to see. Make sure that the proportion of vegetables you feed your dog doesn't exceed maybe 10 to 15% of your dog's diet. Feeding 50% vegetables, in my opinion, defeats the purpose of feeding raw. If you feed raw food, it's because you want to pay for meat, and meat is what costs money. So some manufacturers say they feed raw and they produce raw food, yet they pack so many vegetables in their recipes. And with the straight 80-10-10s, I would look at the quality of the ingredients. We want those cuts of meat to be as high as possible, to be as high quality as possible. We do not want to see anything vague, and we do not want to see anything unspecific. We want everything to be as clear and as transparent as and easy to understand as possible. If you are a bit reluctant and do not know where to start, I would consider a straight swap first. 99% of puppies are okay whenever we give them raw food for the first time. So if you are going to wean them of whatever you were giving them before, putting them straight onto raw food from day one can be the best course of action for a lot of puppies. If for whatever reason your puppy is struggling, I would try to source some green beef tripe. And tripe is packed with good bacteria and enzymes that are likely to boost your dog's good bacteria and stomach. And it's going to be very, very beneficial for your dog's good flora to flourish and to be able to cope with any other foods you might be giving them. Remember that fresh food sometimes to some puppies can be a bit of a shock to the system. So if you can introduce beef green tripe first, maybe for the first week, and then start adding gradually bone and offal, that might be the best thing for your puppy. But hey, do not complicate it. If you get into any stumbling blocks, try to peel everything back and try to introduce things that are highly digestible first, and try to keep away or introduce very, very slowly things that are a bit richer and tougher to digest. So it might just be the trial and error that we all go through whenever we feed our puppies, because every puppy is different. Another common question has to do with quantity. How much am I giving this puppy? Well, it is very, very different for every single breed. Different puppies, different personalities, different levels of activity. Me and you will require different levels of food intake every single day because of our complexion. A lot of manufacturers say that you should be feeding your puppy between 4 and 5 of your puppy's overall body weight per day. However, again, these can vary and these can be a bit of a minefield at first. And to be perfectly honest, the first thing I do whenever I get a new puppy is to feed the puppy as much as they want and as much as they need. I try not to skimp and I try not to cut down their appetite. If they are hungry for a reason, because they are playing, they are running around and they need the nourishing, and they need the food, they need the calories, and they need those fats and amino acids that are so essential for growth, for cartilage, for heart function. So do not make the mistake to restrict calories at such an important developing time for your puppy. Now, if you are unsure about the different brands that you can provide your dog with, I have put together a video with a few of my favorite brands, and it is important to say that I have no affiliation with these brands, so I can be as transparent and as honest as possible.